babies. Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Correct salutes over here, guys. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. What's happening? Oh, man. First time since I was in high school. No, college. Sorry, college. First year college. We were playing in the NFC Championship game. Can't believe it.
Yes, because I think you've told me this story. You were weren't you trying to go for a frat, and it was during the Super Bowl or something?
Hell
and
week.
And you were like, I am not doing anything. The Redskins are in the Super Bowl.
Apparently, I've told you this story. Yes, we had they had what was called Hell Week at the time, which probably you can't do anymore, I would assume, or
No.
not publicly. Well, who knows? Things have changed again, guys. Who knows?
Your definition of hell has probably changed in 2025.
Executive order, Hell Week's been reinstated. So, yeah, back then I was pledging a fraternity through the fall semester. We got to what was called Hell Week, which was you get like officially in after it. Our hazing was not real hazing, but whatever. And but they tried to be nasty about it. But the Redskins happened to be playing the Bills. And I said to them, because they were like threatening I wasn't going to be able to watch the Super Bowl. And I go, guys, I'm going to quit. Like, I'm just going to tell you right now, there is absolutely no chance on earth I'm not watching this. Like, so, and then as it turned out, they were lying, and the party they were having after we became full members was to go to a bar and to watch the Super Bowl. So
there you go.
All's well that ends well.
All right.
And it is a little weird that it could be the Bills. I mean, that is, if they both win, it's a little weird. So.
I mean, I think it's weird no matter, who they play, if they are to go ahead and win this game. Like, you're going to be playing the Chiefs, a team that didn't get their name to be forced out, and you will be playing them, or you're doing a rematch of the Super Bowl 33 years ago. So there's quite a few storylines there.
Yeah. I think what's really interesting too, so they would be the third 6 seed ever to get to the Super Bowl, last since 2010 Green Bay. Both the other teams also didn't get lucky and get the 7 seed to win, so they had to win 3 road games to do it. Washington will have done it against the highest seed they could possibly play the whole way, so they would have to knock out 1, 2, and 3 to actually do it. And then if the Chiefs were to win, they would face the highest possible seed they could face the entire way. No one is going to put this team down as one of the all-time great teams because metrically they don't have that. I did find it really interesting that of the other 5 quarterbacks who have made rookies that made the championship game, like Jaden is trying to become the first to get to the Super Bowl, all of them had top 3 scoring defenses. Of course, this team doesn't have that. So while they'll never go down as one of the greatest teams in NFL history because they won't have the metrics to show anything like that, I think they're in an argument of their own of how unusual this is if they were to get there, just based on all of the criteria, the rookie quarterback, the amount of new players on the team, the entire new organization top to bottom, and frankly, a side of the ball that was average. Like, it's kind of hard to really encapsulate why they're here. It's just about belief, teamwork, poise, execution, preparation. That's what it's about. And it's not really about because they have better players than you.
The funniest thing that has happened over the last week, especially after the Lions win, or, the win over the Lions, was seeing some NFL fan bases go, well, yeah, of course, Jaden's having a great season. Look at his supporting cast: Terry McLaurin, Diami Brown, Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler. And I'm like, no.
Don't even try that.
You do not get to do this only because we're one of the 4 teams you get to watch now in the playoffs. Like, I couldn't believe when I saw a little bit of that chatter happening. And that's what I'm getting at here is they're not going to be known as some huge dynamic team. It's all going to go back to number 5, essentially, on the offensive side of the ball. He's made everyone so much better. I'm not taking anything away from Terry McLaurin or Diami Brown's hot streak right now, but going into this season, your and I's biggest concern was, is there enough around him for this offense to be successful?
He's a one of one. This team's a one of one. Really? Yes. I mean, it's what it is. This team is a one of one. I've never seen anything like this. And I have full belief they can go win. I think this is the toughest of the 3 matchups for them. And I actually don't even think it's close. I went into the Tampa game very confident that it would be a very different result. And I wasn't surprised at the result there. I figured it would be close, and it was, but I think it's going to be a different result. I don't like the way Tampa plays defense. And I just didn't think that was a good matchup for our offense. The way Jaden plays, like the way they bring so much pressure, they're bound to get burned doing something like that. You can't blitz this guy like that ad nauseum. They even backed off a little bit. So I'm like, I thought that was a good matchup for them. Last week, the overconfidence just streaming out of Detroit, I thought played into, you guys are in for a big surprise. You're not a dynasty. You've never won anything. And secondarily, your defense stinks. And so we're going to score points on you. The only question is whether it's enough. And once I had heard, I talked about this last week, once I had heard what the defensive game plan was, I was bought in and it landed to a T. This one's different. Like this is the one where I'm literally nervous about their defense. Like they don't have to blitz a lot of people, which is not what you want to do anyway with Jaden because of his escapability. They can win with 4. I'm worried about our offensive line and holding up specifically in the interior with Carter and Williams and whoever else they bring there. Nolan Smith has turned out to be a very good, I would never believe that at his size, a very good edge rusher, but he is. They're playing at such a high level that I'm sticking to, I believe that this is going to be a very close, low-ish scoring game. But I do want to go back to this one thing that continues to happen here, because I did Philadelphia Sports Radio yesterday, and I was talking to all the people, that I work with down at the park who are doing, and nobody believes they can win. And I keep looking and I keep waiting for someone, there's the outlier person who will pick them. Like you'll see the graphics of the one person that does that, or NFL Network does their lone wolf thing and somebody's going to pick them. But out of these places that we play, or the general national media, or even Jason Kelsey, who yesterday, I tweeted out a clip that he put on WIP yesterday where he said the Eagles are better at literally every position than them, which is a really... it's true in a lot of cases, but it's not across the board. It's really disrespectful to say something like that. Like nobody believes them. And even when I was on with the guys with Kincaid yesterday up on his show, I go, did us beating the 1 seed on their field on a short week when they were off a bye, that didn't do anything for you? Like, how about when they beat you a month ago? Did that not do anything for you? So this is the one where I keep looking at it and I'm going, I can't believe there isn't more people going, I think this is a really close game that could go either way. It's the same vibe of, I don't know how they're here. I know they're going to lose. I just don't know by how much. And I don't get it, really. At this point, I don't know what they have to do to earn respect, I think would be the best way to put it.
Well, and I told you this on Monday or Tuesday after we were seeing clips on Monday of people writing them off right away. And I literally tweeted out, I can't believe we're doing this for a 3rd week in a row where people are writing them off like this. 2, I will say this. On that Kelsey clip, if you actually watch it, I think it was WIP, I want to say. Yes. They clickbaited the hell out of that, and I actually felt bad for Kelsey. He was very complimentary of our whole operation. If you watch the full clip, he actually was like, Dan Quinn has them playing, and he said the Eagles have a better roster overall, but that team is playing like a team and is very tough to beat at this moment. Like basically just said they're very tough to stop. So, and he actually had to quote retweet it by saying, let me clarify here. I was very complimentary of Washington. So I will say that it was not as bad as it sounded in WIP. Good job. We all reacted to it because, the full clip was actually very complimentary to them. So no, I'm with you once again. We've had to do this for 3 fan bases in a row, and I will say what I said on Tuesday. I'm shocked that this fan base, who has seen him now for 2 times already, is just so arrogant and confident when the Eagles, they're very Chiefs-like. They're not blowing anybody out. These are 1-possession games. These are close games. Say what you want. They might Saquon's going to get his on Sunday, but I'm telling you, if they don't pull away and Jaden's got a chance to win the game, what else could we ask for at the end of that game? Because they're not killing people. They're not blowing people out.
Our defense is getting better. Their offense is becoming more and more and more one-dimensional. They rely on huge runs to be the difference in their game. And I'll get to Hurts in a second, but I might as well just do it now. Again, I don't know what his status is. I see that he's practicing. I saw the one clip that they got of him moving. It's hard to tell. We're not going to know till Sunday. They're going to run zone read stuff because that's what they do. But if he doesn't tuck the ball and keep it himself ever, doesn't call his own number, isn't moving laterally, isn't rolling out, eating it on sacks because it's just not there, which he does anyway, but like seriously does it. Like typically when he vacates, it's right up the middle of the line. Well, what if he doesn't do that because he can't run? Well, they're going to become one-dimensional really, really fast, which they've been heading that way anyway. Like A.J. Brown has nothing in these playoffs. The ball's just not even going his way. And I will say this too, and I'll bring this up again later. Like, if you actually watch them now, what you'll see is something I saw earlier with the Browns when they were playing Washington earlier this year, where it became obvious that they could not throw the ball because Deshaun was just awful, right? This is different because Hurts isn't awful. It's just they've become a run team. Like they're almost like an old school NFL 1940s team where they run the ball a ton and they throw it a little, that's what they've become. But the Browns game, I will never forget this. I was watching them. Deshaun was so bad at the time that the receivers didn't even break off the line sometimes. Like they just kind of knew. They were so disengaged from the whole thing. You will see a little bit of that when you watch Philadelphia over the last couple of weeks. Part of it's probably that they know it's a run play, but it's so obvious that it is. And it's not a run play coming their way because they don't run these sweeps or anything. It's all this stuff kind of in and around the line. They use their line to pull and get all this stuff, and they're amazing at it. But the receivers, you can feel they're just not part of it. And you can feel them not being part of it when you watch them on film right now. So they're becoming more and more. It's a really good one dimension, right? But they're becoming more and more of that. Teams like that end up in close games constantly, no matter what. Like, are they going to rip off 3 60-yard touchdown runs again? Like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, because that's what happened a week ago. Otherwise, that was nip and tuck. Against the Rams, they had 3 touchdown runs that equated to 180 yards, right? Every other play they ran amassed 2.9 yards per play. They couldn't move the ball, but they had these home runs, grand slams, really, that like they got a walk. A guy stole second. They walked the other guy. Dude, it's a home run. That's what they were getting done. They weren't having consistent offense. And this is where another reason why I think this game's close. Like, I don't think it goes the other way. There's in no part of my mind can I see, because of their defense, Washington like running away from them at all. But I know what we are in close games, and they should be scared, what, playing us in a close game this weekend.
To use the hockey analogy, like if you keep it close or even you're ahead heading into the fourth quarter, how do you think that crowd is going to be feeling at the time, right? And especially because they're mimicking exactly what Detroit did last week, the overconfidence from the fan base. Once again, by the way, I will say this and go out of my way to say it. Like, the Eagles coaches have been nothing but complimentary and saying the right things on their side.
Detroit's were too, actually. Dan Campbell was. Yes. It was their fan base that was saying the craziest crap about it.
No, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, both of these teams were very smart at not giving any bulletin board material. And I actually give Sirianni a lot of credit on the Joe Witt Jr. stuff yesterday, where Joe Witt Jr., all he said was, we're going to tackle Jalen Hurts like a running back if he's running the ball. And Sirianni was like, yeah, that's what you do when the quarterback's running the ball. Like, he simmered it down real fast. And so I give them both
This is, by the way, the third time that they've said this publicly, but nobody's paying attention. Like, that's right. They said it 2 weeks ago against Baker. They publicly said, we're going to hit him like a running back because he runs. And actually, I remember Quinn said to me, he goes, we're treating him like Jalen Hurts. He goes, because that's what he's like, that's what he does. So listen, fair is fair. You want to be a running back, you're going to get hit like a running back. The rules should not apply. This is why everybody gets so mad about what Mahomes is doing, because he's gaming it up. Like, he can sit there and pretend he's not, but he's using the rules to his advantage when he's a running back that's pissing everybody off. Like, he's getting to the point where he's like, I'm gonna wait till you get so close that you can't stop yourself, then I'm gonna do something that I know will get a flag. And that's BS, honestly. Hurts and Mayfield aren't doing that. They're pulling the whole, all right, let's go. And you know what? Fair is fair. And that's why I'm glad Sirianni said that, because when I heard it got out there, it was the third time they have publicly said it, but this team doesn't get any play. Nobody's paying attention to what they say. So that actually wasn't new. But I thought when I saw it, I went, like Philly's going to jump on this and they're going to say, what they're going to spin that to is, we're going to cheap shot your quarterback. That's not what he's saying at all. He's saying, if you're going to be a running back, you will be hit like a running back, and we don't care. And you should know that. And I'm glad that they took that one in stride, because that's what it meant.
No, exactly. And I saw all of the aggregate accounts trying to blow it up, and then Eagles fans saying, "Oh, well, Jalen's on the other side." It's like, guys, none of that matters. Like, all these guys are going to play their game. And it was so funny is if your players need extra motivation in the NFC Championship game to play as hard as possible, that's a bigger problem. And I don't have any thought in the world that either of these teams need that. But back to like how the Detroit fan base and the Eagles fan bases are acting compared to their coaching staffs. Same thing. The overconfidence from Eagles fans here tells me if this sucker's close again in the fourth quarter, they're going to get restless. The way that they have talked about this team and writing them off starting on Monday, like not even 24 hours after they had their win, tells me if you get this thing close in the fourth quarter, that tension is going to be palpable again, and it seeps onto the field. We know this in all of sports. If the crowd is starting to feel that tense, the team starts to feel it a little bit.
Yes. The other thing I'll say about this, and this is like the foreshadowing has been happening all year, where Quinn has said things like, we want to be in heavyweight fights. This is a heavyweight fight. This one's for real, a heavyweight fight. And this is where I want to give full respect to Philadelphia in general. Like, I don't want to get this twisted at all. I think they're a formidable team with, as Jason Kelsey put, a Super Bowl roster, 100%. Like, I've never seen this before. Every single offensive lineman got at least one vote to be an All-Pro this year. All 5 of them, it's all worthy. Like, it's not reputation. They are playing that way. It is the best offensive line in the NFL. And then obviously, like, Saquon's having a historic year. Hurts is really good. Their receivers, albeit not being used very much, that's as good a 1-2 in the league as you could possibly ask for between those two. And it's defensively where they deserve a tremendous amount of credit. This is going to be a bloodbath. I mean, it really is. Like, the way that they played against Green Bay was lucky to walk out of there. They're playing an extraordinarily physical game. Our team is 2 now. Don't be fooled by the amount of points and yards that have been given up over the last couple of weeks. Those are 2 top 5 offenses. Like, they said something, like, I was on with somebody, I've done so many hits with people this week, but like somebody asked me, they were like, because I said something, I go, their defense is peaking, is what I said to them. And they go, peaking? They gave up all these points and all these yards. And I go, yeah, they got 5 turnovers. And I'm like, and oh, by the way, that is a historic offense on their field that they played. That team is the 4th highest scoring offense ever. What did you think they were going to do? Hold them to 10 points? Like, that wasn't going to happen. That was a massive success. They induced them into a bunch of turnovers. That was the goal. They knew they were going to have to score 30 to win. Anybody's going to have to score 30 to beat that team. But they induced them into the things they wanted. Our team's gotten more physical, but theirs has too. I mean, of the things that there's a lot to be impressed by with Philadelphia. That part of it, on that side of the ball, Vic Fangio has them playing like bats out of hell. This is going to be a war. This is a Rocky fight. This is both of them on the mat at the same time. Someone getting up, can't open their eyes, yelling, Adrian, we did it. Like, this is for real going to be this. I think this is going to be a massively physical game on Sunday.
No, I mean, I've gotten that vibe all week, and not to mention their fan base, same thing, is going out of their way saying, like, watch out for Luvu, he's a dirty player, something like that. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, guys, like, don't worry, like, you guys are hitting people too. I was like, just remember what your defensive lineman there is like known for being. So let's calm down on that one. No, I'm not.
I also love this too. Everybody hates playing Tom Wilson, but you love him on your team.
That's right.
Lulu's not a dirty player, but he's a very physical player. And if they're talking about you that way, he's in your head. I love it.
Of course. No, absolutely. Like, we talk about this all the time. You love to have him on your team. You'd hate to play against him. And now I'm like, oh, wow, we're at this point with Luvu now. You guys really don't like him, but you would definitely take him on your team 10 times out of 10. I'm with you too. Watching them, I think that was also something that helped them in the Rams game on Sunday. Was the Rams had one more shot, but you could tell they were on a wing and a prayer that last drive. And yes, the weather was messy, but like, you can tell when you're watching the end of games when teams just do not have it anymore. And that was one where even I was kind of like, ooh, like, they have a chance to win this thing. They're right there, but the physicality set in the fourth quarter.
I think the key for Washington are these 2 players, Jeremy Chin and Quan Martin, which is another thing that I'm very bullish about going into this game. Washington's secondary, tell me how different that feels from the beginning of the season to now, especially with the addition of Lattimore, who is coming off what appears to be, finally, he's kind of in playing condition where he looks like himself. He's throwing his body around. He's very physical. who's got a more physical secondary than Washington does right now? Between Lattimore, Sanders still, who will hit people, and these two safeties. But they're it for me, and this is why. So Barkley, I don't care how many people you put in the box. His vision and his ability to throttle up, which is like Jahmyr Gibbs a week ago, it's second to none, really. So he's going to hit big plays. The safety has to tackle him. If the safety misses him, that's where the home runs happen. The safeties, who are willing participants here, Quan and Chin, I think one of the big issues that the Rams had a week ago was they had a safety tandem. One of them was Cam Curl, but the other one was either young, inexperienced, not wanting the smoke, whatever it was. He wasn't where he needed to be. And once he wasn't where he needed to be, if Saquon gets through that first level, he's gone. You're not going to catch him. We have guys that are willing to tackle, but they got to make the plays. And we got hit the first game a couple of times with Barkley late in the game, almost similarly to like that Rams game, where it was kind of like we took too many body blows. It went the wrong way, and we had a bad round in that fight. And all of a sudden, for about a 3-minute stretch, Washington wasn't Washington, and they were them. These two are the key to me. They must make the plays to limit Barkley when he does pop one to a 7 to 10 yard gain and not 40 or more, because that's what's going to flip this game. They cannot give up some 50-yard touchdown run. The points are going to be too much at a premium. It has to be hard for them to score two. It has to take them a while to score two. And they are the ones, because they're going to be the ones that are tested. I'm hoping the line and the linebackers do well, but it's impossible to believe that Barkley's not going to pop a couple of these. When he does, they have to be there. If they're not, it's touchdowns. They're the key to the game to me.
Hearing Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. use the word discipline over and over and over again this week is exactly that game plan, not just for them, but the linebackers as well. I feel like you just said it there. The Rams were fine. What did they average? What did you just say? 2.9 yards a carry.
58 plays, 2.9 per play. 3 plays, 180 yards, 60 yards per play. Ball game.
What basically the vibe I was getting from both Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn this week was, if we need to play boring defense, keep playing boring defense. Don't be in the wrong position, because
Correct.
You get complacent after it. And I've never had more faith that this defense will be that. Like, I'm telling you, like, with the Rams, I don't know what their team chemistry is like. I don't know what their vibe is. I haven't watched enough of them. But I do know this team, if you're telling everyone to do one thing, they're all going to keep each other in check the entirety of the game, and I like their chances. I'm with you. Like, Saquon's going to get one probably. Like, he's Saquon. He's been very, very good. This run defense has been suspect all year long, but they're hitting their stride right now. He's going to get his. I'm going to reference Dan Quinn's own pregame speech. They're going to get their scratching and clawing in, but you can be the one standing above the bathtub, at the end of the game.
You give up a few 15-yard runs, whatever, that's going to happen. That guy's having a historic year. You cannot give up the 60-yard touchdown run. That cannot happen. And that is their explosive plays, mainly because the wide receivers are either in book club or fight club. And I don't know what it is at this point. Like, that book thing was weird, but you know what? It was very telling. They're just not really part of the offense, actually. That's what he was symbolically saying at the time. And I think he's actually handled it very well, A.J. Brown. He has said publicly, like, I just want to win. And I actually believe him, because in the past, it was always, why am I not getting the ball when they're winning? He's at least turned that into, I'm not going to tell you I like this, but I'm also not going to make a big stink out of it. And my big stink of it is going to do something on the sideline to show you that I want more, but I'm not going to be horrible about it and yell in your face. This is his new way. He's gone. This is his subtweet version of saying what he used to say to Sirianni's face on the sideline, and everybody got pissed at him. That's all that's happening. And I'll reiterate what I said earlier. When you watch them recently, you will see disengagement from their wide receivers, unlike that I'm accustomed to seeing. When they go off the line, it's a pass play. When they don't, they know what it is. And it just doesn't have that same feel to it, because they're just not a big part of the offense anymore. Washington needs to make Jalen beat him with his arm. And you know what? If he does, and this goes back to, can he move? If he can't move, we're stacking the box. We're going to limit Barkley as much as possible, and we're going to force the issue. Can Jalen Hurts beat us throwing the ball? And if he does, we shake their hands at the end of the game. Good luck in the Super Bowl. We'll see you next year. But I'm taking my chances with that. Watching these receivers being semi-disengaged, and the most important part of that is when you're not locked in the whole time, when they call on you, will you be? Will you be? In the end, when he needs you, it's 17-13. They got 3rd and 8. They can't run the ball there. They got to throw it. You awake now? And so let's see what happens this weekend.
And I'll just piggyback off this. I cannot believe he did that during a playoff game and it didn't get more play. That's as close as it gets to TO type stuff on the sidelines,
yes,
where it's ridiculous and people talked about it, but then they won, so people didn't blow it up. This team would never. That's all I'm going to say. This team in Washington would never do that. It started in preseason that these guys are cheering on their teammates or trying to improve literally every single play. I'm just saying that feels like a difference maker to me. I cannot believe he was reading a book on the sideline during a playoff game and it wasn't blown up even more. And whatever, if he's buying into got to do whatever to win, fine. But I'm with you. If you're not going all out every single play, good luck with that. Terry McLaurin said it best. We've been playing those highlight videos, or everyone's been, retweeting the highlight videos. Terry had like one of my favorite lines ever where he was like, I know what they're going to say about me when they watch the film. And that couldn't be just a more opposite feeling than AJ Brown right now. Like he is going, I don't give a what. Go out there and play really hard. I know what they're going to say about me. And then there's AJ Brown that's reading a book on the sideline.
Yes. All right, we'll be right back. We'll get to the other side of the ball next. Bram, watch the show. ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. So on defense, I think the safeties are a really big deal. Last line of defense must make the plays on Barkley. Can they force Jalen Hurts to be a passer? Let's see what that looks like. Can they beat us that way? We can't let them win hitting home runs, running the ball. It just that can't be the case here. It's what they're best at. It's going to be hard to stop. I don't expect them to hold Saquon Barkley to 20 carries and 40 yards, but there can't be in there a 75-yard touchdown run. That just can't happen. On the other side of the ball are where my bigger concerns really are. Like, I feel like this game's going to be close, but we need the magic of the Hogs to show up here, because without Sam Cosmi, who is their best offensive lineman, Tyler Biadasz is hanging in there. He deserves an award for making it to this point. And now without Cosmi, he's staring down Jalen Carter and Milton Williams and whatever else they're bringing. They already had problems with them because the guy's the best interior defensive lineman, most disruptive interior defensive lineman in the NFL. I don't even know who's playing guard at this point at the time that we're talking about this. And I trust that they'll put the best 5 out there. But we are going to need an effort of all efforts that I can't really envision to somehow summon enough time and offense not to blow up enough drives. I don't know if we can run the ball here this weekend, like outside of Jaden's magic axe that he pulls. But since we've been hearkening back to all these different eras for all these different moments, I did the numerology of Sammy Baugh earlier this week we're talking about 1991 a lot. There's the Bills that are playing. It's all weird. It's all kind of lining up karmically. We need the Hogs to show up and somehow metamorphosize into the bodies of these 5 people, because they're going to have to play the game of their lives to actually have a real shot to score any real points. I keep feeling like this is low scoring, partially because Hurts is, injured and Philly isn't scoring at high clips and really fast. But I don't know how we score a lot based on our offensive line situation. So maybe part of this is the only way we're winning a game is it's 1st to 20.
I mean, I could possibly see that, by the way, on your synergy on Sunday. It will be 33 years to the day they won the Super Bowl. So maybe your Hogs magic could kick in there. I'm just going to give you that. On this one, I've thought about it and I've talked about it on my show a little bit, and I've come to this conclusion. They just need to flip their Lions game plan. I think you do a lot of quick passes. You do some screens in the first half. You try to get Carter and that defensive line moving laterally early. Basically, get them to hesitate a little bit from the beginning of the game. Do some quick passes. Just put the ball in Jaden's hand, right? Like, you and I have talked about it for how many weeks now, where at the end of the game, Cliff doesn't overthink it. He just puts it in Jaden's hands, right? Whether it's a run or a pass. I think you do that in the first half and you try to get a little bit of scoring happening early. And I'm with you. Feels like 20 points is about where this game is going to go. But if you can get that pass game, that quick pass game going in the first half, then try to run the ball in the second half, that's about where I've landed on this one. I don't think they run the ball well in the first half, but I think if you can tire that defensive line out just a little bit, maybe in the second half, you bring out Brian Robinson to be the sledgehammer, and maybe he rips off a couple runs because of how well he played last week too, by the way.
Because of the injuries on the offensive line, I don't think Philly needs the blitz very much. They'll do it every once in a while because why wouldn't you? You have to mix things up. But I don't think they're going to do a lot of it. If they do, I don't know why they would, because this is where I think they could potentially get themselves in trouble. And they had to have learned their lesson the last time that they played each other. And I saw some advanced metrics going into the game, and I have them cited somewhere. Jaden Daniels against the blitz in the postseason is outrageous. Like his completion percentage, his rushing yards, all of it. So this is the other issue. Detroit had to. Tampa does. Philly doesn't. So I don't expect them to do a lot of it, mainly because I think that they know the biggest threat is him taking off and ripping off 10, 20-yard runs, shortening the game, getting to the sticks too easily. So I think that this is going to be, they're going to play it straight up. I think they know they're going to win with 4 a lot. And they're going to go walk down the field on us, see if you can actually make big plays. We don't think you can. And oh, by the way, you're going to have trouble running the ball even if you wanted to. Good luck with that. If they do anything different than that, I will be surprised. Like, and they'll be outthinking themselves if they do that. This will be the proverbial, hey, when we're down 10 in the fourth quarter, let's have our wide receiver throw a pass. That's what that would be. And I don't think that they're going to do something as reckless as that. So I don't expect a lot of pressure on him because I think they're going to tell their guys, you've won all year as a group. Just keep winning. And, oh, look, by the way, the guard who's playing for them hasn't played guard in 3 years.
Right. No, exactly right. Like these two teams, the thing that they both do best, and which is why this is going to be a tight game, is they don't make the major mistakes. Like this is why, like you have AJ Brown on the sidelines reading a book in a run offense because they don't screw up. Like I don't think you can bait Jalen Hurts into doing the dumb decision. I don't think you're going to get a fumble off Saquon. Like they're mirror images of each other in that sense that they don't make the major mistake. And I'm with you. They're just going to exploit whatever they need to. And if they need to play a tight game, they'll play a tight game. Once again, that goes back to my original point in our first segment of, okay, you want to play a tight game? I know who I'm taking in said tight game.
The other one that I'm hoping to see, because he's done this numerous times, Terry McLaurin's already had a couple of touchdowns, a 4th and goal touchdown in Tampa. It wasn't the game winner, but it got them in the lead at the time. The 58-yard screen pass turn touchdown run is an all-timer. It's a highlight. It's going to be played forever. They just knocked off a 1 seed, probably the biggest road playoff win upset that Washington's ever had in franchise history. Biggest upset. They were almost 10-point underdogs in the game, and they won. And he's had a number of great games against Philadelphia. If Santana Moss was the Cowboy killer, McLaurin's been the Eagle killer through the years. This is an opportunity here. He could do well, somebody will if they win, but I have a feeling it's going to be him again. He could do things with it. We're going to be showing those highlights until the end of time. So here's an opportunity. And I loved that clip of that speech that he gave. And I played this yesterday on the show, but if you did not see his press conference the other day, where he spent 3 to 5 minutes essentially explaining why this team is where it is right now, it encapsulated all of it, all the things that I've observed, but he was able to say from the perspective of a leader and someone who's lived it in the locker room. It will explain to you the unexplainable. Like you could sit there from the outside and write these guys off, listen to that, and you'll hear why they're here right now and why no one should take it lightly about what they're going to do on Sunday. There is a power of belief chemistry, brotherhood, union, execution, preparation, communication that is going on here that's extremely unusual. And the way that he described all of it, it is special. And I thought it was amazing to hear him say it, because he's so, I mean, like, not is he just a great player. He's going to do whatever he wants in life. He's such an incredible communicator, too. He always has been. We always knew this in the locker room covering him, but there's never been a reason on the outside to listen to him like this. And I'm so happy he's had a career year. I'm so happy people are seeing him for what he really is, and now hearing what kind of leader he is. And now I am hoping that I get to call a play of his that's going to go down as an all-time moment to really cement his legacy in this town.
I could not help but hear when he was talking about it, basically calling it the Commander way is pretty much what he was, describing it as, and saying that this was back in April or whenever OTAs were. He was describing it that OTAs and minicamp is when they, basically made this up with the veterans and the coaches that are there right now. And I couldn't help but kind of kick it back to us in training camp, and not to bring him up disparagingly, but to just bring him up. The trade of Jahan Dotson to the Eagles. And you and I at the time both said, this seems like a guy that's not buying into this new coaching staff and what they're about. And I couldn't help but think about Dotson in that moment, because we knew that there was something up with Dotson, and they didn't disparage him on the way out. They all said the right things. Adam Peters had high praise for him being a pro, but you could tell he was not buying into whatever they were putting down. And he was not picking it up, and they traded him to Philly. And I couldn't help but kind of just like have this moment of like, they're going to get that team this week. And you just explained what this team is about from here on, from not just this year, but from here on out. And that's what I loved about that, those couple of minutes he was talking about. This is the standard moving forward, which once again reiterates, no matter what happens on Sunday, this team is very, very set up for success from here on out.
Yeah. I mean, he's already had an incredible playoff run, but here's the moment.
Yep.
Like I think back to, they beat Dallas. My favorite game in Redskins history is they beat Dallas in the NFC Championship game at home, and Darryl Grant tips the ball up in the air, or like the ball gets tipped up the air. Darryl Grant catches it, goes in. You see that play forever. I'm hoping this happens for Terry. It's going to happen to hope for somebody, that there's going to be some play that's going to happen, but you have an opportunity to knock out a division team. Washington hasn't played an NFC Championship game against a division rival since the mid-1980s. It's the first time ever they're facing Philadelphia here. What happens on Sunday lasts literally forever. And there's part of me that hopes that he's on the opposite end of one of those plays, because I think he deserves it. So I hope we get to see that from him. The last thing here is this. On this case, I would call this one an upset if they pull it off. Like the other two, I didn't really see it that way. I know what the spread was. I thought they were going to win in Tampa. I thought the game would be close for sure. And, that they could win. And I didn't think it'd be that big of a deal if they actually won the game. Last week, I was open to hearing out how great their offense was. But the more I watched their defense, I'm sitting there going, this isn't even an upset. Like, people seem to have forgotten we have a top 10 offense too, with a top 5 quarterback. Most of the time, crappy defenses don't win games like that. And I wasn't surprised, I wasn't surprised. Like, had Detroit outscored them and won 38-35, I could have seen something like that. That's all. The whole thing to me was, I know we're going to score 30. The question is it enough? And as it turns out, they defensively had the right game plan to induce these types of turnovers, and it played out the way they wanted to. And I left there feeling like it wasn't as big an upset as people were like trying to make it out to be. I know the people in Detroit were blinded by their own biases of, we're too good, you have a rookie, it's not your time, we waited for this, you didn't, like whatever the feelings they had about it that weren't logical, honestly, or based in any kind of reality. I think this one's different. Like, Jason Kelce's not wrong about their roster is better than our roster. I think we have a better quarterback right now, and I think that's the reason why I give us more than a puncher's chance. But I love our offensive line, how they play. I'll take theirs. I love our running backs. I'll take theirs. I won't take anybody over Terry, honestly. But A.J. Brown being opposite of him, I'll take that. That sounds pretty good. Actually, defensively, there are a lot of players on Washington's team that I think could match up with a lot of the players on Philadelphia. So I think it's a lot closer there than I think Kelce is probably hinting at. But I do agree, they're built to win right now. this team is ahead of schedule, be the best way to put it. And for all the reasons we talked about earlier, I feel like they could pull it off anyway. And the familiarity, I'm surprised Philadelphia wanted to play them, because after seeing Detroit last week, I said this to Kincaid, I go, after seeing what we did to Detroit, don't you wish you were playing them now? And like what their defense is right now, like it would have been an easier win for you to run the ball down their throat constantly. Now you got us, like someone that doesn't die, won't go away. This one would be an upset, but I'm at, so what? Like they've been doing it all year. And it'll be incredible because Monday, if they do win, they will be an underdog again. It doesn't even matter who they play.
Yep.
And they will be written off by the Bills or the Chiefs who've won a lot of Super Bowls, or the Bills who, like the Lions, guys, it's our year. We've been waiting for this for a long time. That's what's going to happen. So I hope that we're there on Monday talking about it that way.
To harp on one thing on Kelce, and once again, he was very complimentary of this team, but you're crazy if you're not going to say too, though, at the position that matters most, our guy clears their guy easily in this moment. And yes. I'm saying that because he's hurt, he's banged up, he's not the same Jalen Hurts. Even if he was healthy, I'm still taking Jaden. But especially this weekend, I'm taking number 5 over number 1 all day long. And to your point, they have a very good roster, probably pound for pound better than Washington. But at the one that matters, it's the one that can pull the whole entire roster up and above that one. And so once again, I see the path towards winning here once again.
Philly's roster is better than Kansas City's and Buffalo's too.
Yep, exactly right. Except at the one position. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. All right, let me take a quick break. We'll get to the other game in a moment. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Here's what I would ask about the AFC Championship. Can the Bills get Kansas City in a track meet? Because Kansas City, they haven't scored like that. They haven't kept up like that. A few years ago when they played that classic game where they kept scoring back and forth, in the final 2 minutes, and really no one should have lost. And then they changed the overtime rules because everyone was pissed because it just ended what everybody felt like semi-prematurely or anticlimactically, maybe is the best way to put it. I don't think Kansas City could do that again this year. I don't know that Buffalo can do it to Kansas City's defense. And considering the stage, I assume things get a little bit tighter. But if they could get this thing up tempo and get it to a point where they're asking Kansas City to play ping pong with them, I think the Bills could actually run away with this. I don't know that they can induce a game like that, but I don't actually think, and I love Mahomes and I'll believe anything with him, I don't actually think Kansas City can win that way. Not this year. Maybe in future years, but not this year.
No, I 100% agree. If the Bills' offense is clicking here, I think they get the win on the road in Arrowhead. But Kansas City's defense has been so good all year. I said it to you this week and last week. Kansas City's defense is their identity this year. It's not Mahomes. It's not Kelce, although Kelce had a great game last week. He woke up. I will say they have made their defense their identity, and they seem okay with that. Everyone's kind of buying in, not unlike this team here in Washington. They're all pulling on the same rope, and it feels like Kansas City has – I don't want to say revert because that sounds like it's a negative connotation, but they have reverted to a safer offense. Mahomes isn't screwing up. He's not making these crazy mistakes. They're keeping these games close because they know they can win them and they can keep them low scoring. They only beat the Texans by 8 points, I think it was by the end of the day. I think they are making the defense their identity. Can that defense stop that Bills offense? I don't know, but I like the Bills' chances to get them into a track meet on Sunday.
Yes. Here's the other thing too that's just kind of occurred to me. Have they just not really given a crap until now? Because they've acted like it the whole year. They haven't run anybody. They haven't blown anybody out. And it's just, that's what's just unusual about them. And considering how great Mahomes is, you would have figured it would have happened a few times, but it never really did. Like early in the season, it was like, okay, they're just whatever, how it goes. They'll get to December and they'll be this or they'll be that. And it never really materialized, but they also never really lost. And so it does make me wonder, like, maybe they just didn't have the same level of motivated to be great. They just knew they were going to win. They were secure in that feeling. It's a dangerous thing to do when you get to this point because we're actually asking them to turn it on right now. And I'm not going to doubt them because they've turned it on so many times over this run that I believe they can. But this one does feel a little different. Like the Bills can really turn it on are motivated to do it. It would be a first for them to get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl. And Kansas City just doesn't feel like the same, especially on offense, Kansas City team. I put nothing past them, but if they lose this game, like, I think they're going to be a little bit of, even with the record they had, a little soul searching of why didn't we play to our best ability the entire season, I think is what they're going to have to ask themselves.
I think it goes back to my previous point. I think they're okay making the defense their identity. I also think here's the breakdown of Kansas City's offense. They're paying Patrick Mahomes all that money. They're paying Kelsey all that money. And granted, it's a tight end salary, so it's not super high, but that's what they've invested in. Kelsey's now older. He's not producing at nearly the same clip.
No, he's not.
And here's the thing, too. It was bound to happen eventually. They kept finding pieces to get that offense going every year. They haven't found them this year. Like, I'm sorry, Worthy is not enough to keep that offense going the entire time. They finally hit their wall, I think, of finding the talent off the scrap heap and being able to get past some of these opponents. So I think it just goes back to they're okay playing the way that they are because their defense is just so good. I don't think it's that they're unmotivated. I just think it's their identity has changed a little bit here. If they are unmotivated, that's crazy to me because they're talking about the three-peat like they really wanted to accomplish it last year right after they won. So I think it's just a new identity for them this year.
The last thing I'll just say about the Bills, it feels very Caps of a few years ago. We're not going to be the suck this year. And they're actually yelling that now. Like, you saw that interview after the game where Allen was like, everyone just told us we don't have the talent. We're this, we're that, we're this, we're that. They bought that. And it is the full on, we're not going to be the suck this year. So I do expect Buffalo to win. I don't know how. I think the Commanders-Eagles game is going to be close. It's going to come down to one possession. Let's see how it goes. I do think the Bills are going to win. And so with that, in mind, let's get those 91 vibes going because we got a real distinct possibility of you want some weird karma for all this weird year. A rematch of that Super Bowl feels right on the nose, honestly. Script makers, you did a great job this year. Real great job.
I would agree with it, too, in this sense as well. The Commanders, if they were to win this game, they would beat the three highest seeds, but they would also go through the Lions, who, quote unquote, our year, would go through that team, would go through the Eagles, where they've had a historic offense, right? They would go through a division rival in the NFC Championship game, and then they would face the team they last played in the Super Bowl that never got over the hump. That's, once again, their year. And that would just be an amazing storyline to talk about for 2 weeks.
It'd be amazing. In a dome, in one of the few stadiums that did exist back in 1991.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly right.
All right, everybody. I'll see what happens. We'll talk to you on Monday. Bram watch the show. ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.